So we've been tracking here closely the censorship movement across college campuses, especially with regard to pro-Palestinian activism. And today we're really fortunate to be joined by a student who is facing expulsion not only from Cornell University, but ultimately from the country, because if he is expelled, he will lose his student visa and will ultimately be deported. Mamadou Tal is a graduate student at Cornell University and joins us now. Great to see you, sir. Nice to meet you.
Thanks for having me. Good morning.
Yes, of course. We can put this Rolling Stone article up on the screen that explains some of what happened here. The headline: Cornell grad student who attended pro-Palestine protest could be forced to leave U.S. You told Rolling Stone that they want to make an example out of you. You feel that you were singled out for disciplinary action. Could you just tell us a little bit about how this all started?
Yeah, where do I begin? Fundamentally, since last year, October, we've had a sustained, campaign on campus, which is calling for divestment, which is showing solidarity with what's happening in Palestine at the moment, in Gaza specifically. And then the most recent iteration of this kind of, I believe, targeting, because I've become a visible person. I normally give speeches at the rallies, and I think people have come to associate a lot of what's happening on campus with me as an individual, even though it's a movement of more than 150, 200, 300 students, right, who regularly attend the protest. This most recent iteration, we had a rally last week outside the administrative building, after which the crowd went into a hotel, which is nearby to where the rally was. I spoke at the rally and I followed the crowd. The crowd went inside the hotel wherein there was a recruitment fair in which there was two weapons manufacturers present, Boeing and L3 Harris. We went inside after a brief encounter with the police. From my perspective, it looked like the police just let the people in. I went inside and then I was inside for about 5 minutes and then I left. When I had left, I had bumped into the chief of police. And he has had it out for me, in my opinion, since last semester because of the encampment stuff. Then he made a funny noise at me. He walked past me. Next day, I received an email from him that had been referred to the student code of conduct. After that, then last Monday, 23rd, I received an email. I've been temporarily suspended. I was called into a meeting. And in the meeting, I was told that, okay, I've been temporarily suspended and I should contact the senior immigration officer. And then I was informed that I will have no grace period and I have to leave the country promptly if the suspension is upheld. And, oh no, at that point, the suspension was in place. And I think due to the pressure, due to the petition, due to the support, I'm going through an appeal process now, which was not offered to me before.
One interesting question here is the student code of conduct. So tell us what you're alleged to have violated in the student code of conduct. And then I think a great question for that actually would be do you disagree with the student code of conduct? Because that's a real problem at some schools. Their student codes of conduct are actually overly restrictive of expression. So tell us your perspective on that in this case.
Absolutely. So the official narrative the school's saying, and the school said that people pushed past the police, people saying, and the police are saying that people were scared and intimidated. Again, a lot of racialized language, right? I didn't push past any police officer. I can say that categorically. And I was inside for about 5 minutes. So what my charge sheet says, you were a part of a crowd that pushed past the police, or you led or you repeated chants inside the hotel. And I've just said, okay, if anything, let me see the evidence. And I've had no chance to see the evidence. There's been no investigation. There's nothing afforded to me. All I've been told is that my behavior is such a danger to campus that I can't be on campus, which again, I don't understand that because I used to teach a class last week and my kids can testify, my students testify what kind of environment I create in the class. And I've even heard from law professors who don't want to be named have said that when we created the student code of conduct, a temporary suspension was in place for the most egregious acts, for example, not for people just protesting or exercising their First Amendment right.
Were there other students who were part of this protest who are facing similar disciplinary action?
So there was about 150 students present, as far as I'm aware. For a whole week, I was the only one that was in trouble. And now I've heard, I think there's 3 others now who have received a non-academic suspension, which is, again, first and foremost, they're American citizens. And second of all, it doesn't have no implication for them other than they're unable to be on campus, but they can attend all their classes still.
So I want to ask about something that this writer, Steve McGuire, posted on X. He was talking about you, and he said, this guy is one of the lead protesters at Cornell. When the student government denied his group's divestment resolution, he and others vowed to repeatedly disrupt the campus, which they did. He was suspended last year, too. Looks like Cornell might be done messing around. That's what McGuire posted. Can you respond to that allegation that you were vowing to repeatedly disrupt the campus? And then again, in that context of that student code of conduct conversation, should you be allowed to be disruptive and protest when you feel it's appropriate?
I think it's very hypocritical of people like Steve McGuire and also the school itself. I'm in Africana Studies. Africana Studies was the first Africana Studies established in the United States of America. In 1969, students took arms. It was an armed takeover by black students to demand the university to allow an Africana Studies Center at Cornell. After that was established, Cornell, year in and year out, like the good old liberals always do, ad nauseum, talk about the celebration of student protests on campus. They talk about, how big the Vietnam protest was. They talk about how big anti-apartheid movement was on Cornell's campus. They celebrate this every year because they can do that retroactively. When students exercise the same thing for something one of the biggest issues in the world today, they are met with sorts of repression. But again, I understand, because this issue of Palestine, I keep saying to people, you cannot divorce this from Palestine. Palestine is the reason why we're receiving such repressive tactics against us. So again, a protest is supposed to be disruptive. And I understand that, people can balance the needs of other students, but again, there's been no violent behavior. There's been no threatening behavior. Maybe at most, you're gonna have a 30-minute inconvenience.
Mamadou, what happens now? What does the timeline look like for you? And are they giving you any chance to, at this point, appeal this decision?
Yeah, I have one more shot at an appeal, which I filed last Friday. And I was emailed back by the provost, who told me he's committed to an independent review. And he said that the student code of conduct doesn't give him any guidance or it gives him limited guidance in regards to temporary suspensions and reviewing them. And he told me he'll get back to me next week. So I'm just waiting at the moment. And just to add, Cornell signed a memorandum of agreement with our union, our grads worker union. And the union and Cornell has a legally binding document that says any effects of discipline must go through bargaining. And Cornell is not honoring that legally binding document right now in haste to get rid of me.
That's a very important point.
And let me just ask, what a lot of detractors on the right or in the sort of Zionist movement would say is, if you hate America and the West so much, then why do you want to be a student at Cornell? So I was curious how you would respond to that, Mamadou. Why is it important for you to be at Cornell and to have your voice heard?
Yeah, I think regardless of my political views, again, I haven't been threatening, I haven't threatened nobody. I should have a right to be here. I'm studying here. I made my way to Cornell by my work. I'm in my third year. I passed my Q exams for my PhD just 2 weeks ago. So again, I'm an educational institution in which I have a right to be here. I worked my way to get here. If people are saying, because of your political views, you should not be in a certain place, and I think that's a very slippery slope for not just people with my views, but people with many other views.
What can people do if they want to support you? And also, do you have any regrets? If you ultimately are deported back or self-deport, I guess, back to the UK, do you have any regrets about your activism? Would you do anything differently?
I think people can help me by writing into the school, to the provost. I know there's a petition still going around, which I believe you'll post in the link description. And as for regrets, then no. I think whatever happens to me, I think it's an unfortunate experience. It will mean significant harm and damage to my own life. But I also think to myself, there's nothing in comparison to what Palestinians are going through. And I can never imagine myself, if I do have the fortunate experience to reach my old age, I would never imagine thinking to myself, I did too much for Palestine, because this is just, I think anyone of good moral conscience cannot see the daily images of what's happening in Palestine and not be moved. So I can never think a day will come and I say to myself, I think I went too hard for Palestine, because I don't regret it.
Mamadou Tal, thank you so much for explaining your story to our viewers this morning. And as you said, we're going to have the petition linked in the description. So if people want to support you, they'll have the opportunity. Thank you again.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's our pleasure.
Hey, if you like that video, hit the like button or leave a comment below. It really helps get the show to more people.
And if you'd like to get the full show ad-free and in your inbox every morning, you can sign up at breakingpoints.com.
That's right. Get the full show, help support the future of independent media at breakingpoints.com.